Well, here we are. This is the final episode of the Tunnel Rats LP. My name, as always, is Haberman, and I am full of regret. Regret starting this LP. Regret buying this game. Just full of regret. And the effects this game has had on my life, that this LP, that the toll it has taken. Days, hours I can never get back. Days that I've just completely forgotten. Days that just are sort of disappeared from my memory.
Sure, I could just go back. What difference does it make? I won't, though.
And I can't recall them. So, but enough about that. Enough about my life. You've come here to see the conclusion to Tunnel Rats, and I'm gonna show you the conclusion to Tunnel Rats. This level, first half takes place in the tunnels, second place takes place on the surface. Nothing new here. There's maybe one major set piece at the end, and that's it. But very familiar territory here. So I figured I would try something a bit different. I would try to mix things up a bit for the last episode, and I figured, what if we discuss what could have saved this game? What could have been done to make this game fun, playable, to make it a game? Because as it stands,
How many of them are there?
we all know this is an incomplete
War
product.
as hell.
Forgetting the fact that this game was clearly
War as hell.
unfinished, was pushed out the door. Was maybe the best theory in the thread was that this was released as per terms of their bankruptcy. They're filing for insolvency, that they were forced to put out what they had finished of this game. And there's evidence that this game is incomplete. There's further evidence in the fact that the game is sort of an unplayable, unfinished piece of shit. If you go through the game's directories, you'll see that there's 2 levels that were scrapped, that were never finished. The sound files for them and some of the textures and models for them still exist within the game directories, but there's no way to get them to play in the game, as far as I know. This game originally, didn't originally open up with you in the pit like it does in this version of the game. Originally you're supposed to open up in a hospital and escape from a Vietnamese military hospital or something. So let's forget about the fact that this game is incomplete and focus on what could have been fixed, what could have been improved upon before the game was put out.
What's the point? I'll never get these home.
Now, one of the first things I want to bring up are the graphics in the game, which are repetitive, very repetitive. Textures are constantly reused. You can't tell the difference from one tunnel hallway to from another, except for maybe the small variety of recycled props they put in, like the lanterns, the glow sticks, which of course are the same lantern and glow stick. So who's to tell? Who's to say? I can't identify just from looking at a screenshot of one level. I can't tell what the difference between one level and the other is. I can't identify a level based on the screenshot. And I've played this game more than anyone else on the planet, I want to say, having played it through the completion one time, and then having played it again for this thread, and having to replay levels. I think it's safe to say I've played this game more than the developers have, than whatever beta testers they had, if any, played it. Because just look at all the fucking bugs in this game, all the clipping issues, props, the few props they have, recycled corpses that they use, the corpse model 1, corpse model 2, and that's it. They'll clip through objects, they'll clip through walls. I can't believe I'm putting this forward as a suggestion, but this game would have benefited from some distance fog, not being able to see too far into the distance. It would certainly hide some of the mapping errors they had. Now, this barren areas like this. Here's the thing: I've seen videos on YouTube where of people playing the game, and they have grass textures, they actually have grass sticking out of the ground, grass growing out, which I don't get. I've played this on ATI and Nvidia cards, this game, and neither of them was I able to see grass popping out of the ground.
So much for your stroll in the morning sun, you fuck!
The videos I've seen, the people, I have no idea what kind of computers they were using, but the grass seemed to make the game run really slow. So there's the chance that they may have removed the grass textures and all that shit because it slowed down this game. That's another thing, that distance fog, having even like
Get this back
kryptonite fog. I would have preferred to have like a thick layer of kryptonite fog over this game, for Christ's sakes, rather than being able to see trees floating in the distance and, you know, the ground textures come to an end and the corners of the skybox coming together. There's really amateur shit in this game going on. Look at those soldiers here, recycled soldiers over and over again.
Kill me,
They could have stood for more variety. They could have gotten more artists to do more models, but they didn't, because they didn't give a shit. They did not give a shit. They realized this game, they're going to put it out, and no one was going to play it. The 360 release got canceled. They figured, we're going to put it on PC. No one's going to play this game anyway. Who's going to give a shit? That's my theory about the developers. You know, how they felt towards the end of development. You know, before this game was going to come out, they clearly didn't care. Moving down the list, things that could have been improved. You know, one thing I'm going to say that's pretty good in this game is the sound. Like, some of the music is pretty good in this game. I know I talk over a lot of it, and a lot of it, the prompts for it, the triggers for it, come late or come too early, so there's some programming errors there, but the music is generally competent. The voice acting, of course, is repetitive, and Brooks is, you know, one of the worst performances in video game history, I want to say. Some of the worst character development in the history of the medium, because there's none of it. So that which brings us on to the subject of the story. I don't really need to talk too much about the sound. The story progresses so poorly. You have no attachment to the character. You want to see him suffer, if anything. And for a game that's supposed to be like a horror game, there's no tension whatsoever, except for, coming up right now,
Read me, Blackwood. This is Alpha AVN. We're out of the tunnels. Encountered some resistance, secured some strategic documents, and placed C4 charges on our way out. In a few minutes, the tunnel system will be history. LZ clear for landing now. Over.
We can reach you, Alpha. Bullfrog 1 is on its way to pick you up. We don't know when to
Fuck.
and here we go. We're actually on the move now. We're actually in a hurry to get away from explosions. We're actually at risk right now.
War as hell.
How about that chopper, Blackwood?
ETA 2 minutes.
Like, we're running the clock right now. Like, we're on our way to the chopper. We need to get out of this tunnel before it explodes on us. You know, so this is... Why couldn't there have been more segments like this in the game? Or the developer sync segments...
Frog 2, this is Alpha AVN. LZ is hot. Repeat, LZ is hot.
Roger that, Alpha. I'll go round you along from the west. It's gonna be touch and go, so you better be ready.
Just get your ass down here, Bullfrog. We can't hold out.
Thought I'd never breathe fresh air again. Gotta catch up with the others.
Did they think shit like the water traps were tense? Because they're not. They're really easy to avoid. It's just really inconsistent. I mean, if that was almost a cool segment. That was like a set piece from a proper game. By the way, we're going to use this weapon now, which is introduced at the end of the game. You can't get this weapon any other level in the game, because it's basically...
Good to go. The place is crawling with VC. Requesting airstrike. Same coordinates as the LZ. Danger close. Repeat. Danger close. We need... Sarge! I'm getting shot. Get the fuck out of here. Go, go, go.
No, oh no! Wait for me! Come back here! You assholes! Wait for me! Fuck!
Well, I hope you like anti-climaxes, because there's an airstrike coming in on this position in just a few minutes. And, which brings us, this is the final area of the game. A desperate last stand with no consequence, no purpose. It's just complete and utter nihilism. There's really no point to this ending segment here. Like, if you heard the radio, you heard airstrike coming in. The helicopter has flown out. This place is going to get bombed to hell, and we're going to die. That's the end of the game. This is the end of the game. Except, remember this guy who's been trailing us for the whole game? Well, here he is. Remember how we killed him before and he didn't die because he wasn't supposed to die back then? Well, here's where you're actually supposed to kill him. And this segment here, this is the final stand. We can kill him now, officially. And, Christ. Just what a fucking mess. Like, there's no point to this segment. This gun, by the way, I was going to bring up about this gun. It's just a grenade launcher. If you die at any point during the level and have to resume a checkpoint, it doesn't work. Just like grenades in the game. as we established in the, I think it was the second or third episode. So that's why they hid it until the last second, because they couldn't figure out how to fix grenades. But it's working now, because in this playthrough I didn't die at all, so I get to show it off here. And you know, for what it's worth, it's effective, I guess. Only in one level of the game, though, so tough shit. Yeah, the story. This is how the story ends. Like a total anticlimax. This is a totally pointless segment here. We're going to die. Chopper flew away, which I guess, you know, this could have worked if you had any investment in the character whatsoever. Like, whether you hated him or loved him, either or. But by this point in the game, I'm just totally indifferent. I don't give a shit. Like, I just want the game to end. And this segment goes on for too long, and it's just keeping you from ending the game for that much longer. You just gotta kill, there's a set amount of enemies here, you kill them. That's it. Then the game ends. Which brings us to the biggest point about the game, the biggest problem with the game, which is of course the fucking gameplay, which is lousy, which is fucking terrible. For everything from the way the guns fire, which the collision, the accuracy of the weapons, and just... do I need to say anything? Do I really need to say anything about it? I mean, the guns are fucking garbage. None of them feel satisfying to fire whatsoever. And beyond that, just the variety of these shooting segments. Games like Call of Duty, which I love, and which I know everyone else hates because they hate fun, I guess. I'm just gonna end the game with the knife, because fuck it, it's the best weapon in the game. It's the funniest weapon in the game. At least segments like Call of Duty, like, at least they put segments in that sort of mix it up. This game is straight up, there's 3 different kinds of segments. Holdouts like this, where you're holding out against a wave of enemies. Segments where you're like in an encampment inside the tunnels, and you know, you're shooting out into the open. Like you're overlooking a field and you're killing enemies there. We had one of those early in the level. And then there's just tunnel combat, which is close quarters combat, and that's it. It's 3 scenarios over and over again. And I thought that was the last enemy. I don't hear anyone. So I guess we gotta go find the last enemy now. Maybe it'll come to us. Who knows? Maybe it doesn't even spawn. Who's to tell? This game is broken. It's a piece of shit, and it should never have been put out the way it was. The world would have been a better place without this game having been put out in any capacity, because all it does is it's the final nail in Replay's coffin, and it's a summation of all the reasons why this company dissolved.
Don't me, huh? Do ya?
Postman 1 approaching target area.
And that ooh sound was supposed to be Brooks dying, I guess. But at the same time, you know, is he dead? Is he really dead? Not according to the HUD, which displays, and I can still fire my gun right now because this game's a broken piece of shit. And there you go. That's the best way you can end this fucking game is to die and then keep on firing your gun, because goddamn, this game was programmed by fucking idiots who I'm glad lost their jobs. And I know it sounds crazy. And that sounds awful. We're going to take a look at the credits now, because I want to get a few more things out there. I want to say a few more bits. So we're going to go down to... By the way, that really was it. I mean, the credits don't automatically play or anything. That was the end of the game. That cutscene, then it kicks you back to the main menu. So, I mean, this is a list of people who I'm glad are jobless. These people had no care for their craft, as indicated by games like Velvet Assassin and that one with the cars, which are the only 2 other games under their belt that I know offhand right now, other than this one. These people clearly had no concern for the way this game came out. If this game were to have been finished on time, it still would have been a lousy game. Just the way it was programmed, the way it was designed, the lack of any sort of themes, the lack of any variety whatsoever. This game is bland. This game has no identity. It's just a Vietnam shooter. It has no charm, nothing distinguishing about it except for the fact that it's so awful. It just apes elements from other games. Like it tries to ape like Eternal Darkness in the way the character sort of loses his sanity over the game, which is poorly realized, of course. I mean, Christ, the movie by Uwe Boll is better than the game, for God's sake. But shit, just come on. So there you go. That's Tunnel Rats, the worst first-person shooter ever made. And you know what? maybe one of the worst games ever made, period. A game so bad I ran out of jokes to tell about it about 4 episodes ago. So, not much left to do then, is there? Well, I guess there is guess there's one thing. I've got to do it. I told myself before this I had to do it. I need to know. Curiosity is just... it's fucking killing me. It's literally fucking killing me. Right, Tunnel Rats, you fucking son of a bitch. You want me to read those goddamn secret documents? Well, I'm gonna read those secret goddamn documents. This is the last fucking thing that I do. Fuck! Whoa. Wait, hold on. Nothing happened. You mean we built up for like 8 episodes and then nothing happens at the end of the LP? Well, isn't that an anticlimax?